Welcome, I'm Adam with the Outcasts. Today we discover space stations and warp drive upgrades, unlocking the ability of traveling to new solar systems. Welcome to No Man's Sky. The very first thing you're going to want to place at your base is your base teleporter module. This teleporter gives you the ability to warp right back to your home base from any space station or any other teleporter without the need to fuel your warp drive in your spaceship. As soon as you place your teleporter down, you'll notice it has a little power icon, meaning you can't use it because it doesn't have power. Go into your build inventory and select the biofuel reactor. This is a little power generator that will supply power to a number of different items at your home base that require power. Once you find a suitable location for the generator, place it on the ground, and then go back into your build menu and select the wiring so you can connect the generator over to your teleporter module. Now there is an upgrade later that can hide these cables so you don't have these ugly red power cables going between your devices. That's for a later video. Fuel your generator with carbon or condensed carbon or oxygen. It does chew through the carbon pretty quick. That 130 stack or so only charges the generator for about 2 minutes. While carbon is pretty easy to get, you do want to use this sparingly. You don't have to keep that running at all times. Good note, you don't have to have power supplied to your base teleporter to come back to your base from a space station or from another teleporter around the universe. After you've set up your teleporter and you have it powered, you'll get a notification to head back to your base computer, as your base computer has a surprise. After a little bit of text back and forth with your base computer, it'll tell you that the former owner of this base headed away to the local space station. Now, not every system has a space station. The majority of them do. Some of them have even been abandoned. But in your starter system, you will always have a space station to be able to make it to. Start making your way over to your ship, and in a couple seconds, you'll have a little pop-up to indicate where the space station is located. It's that little yellow icon. So there it is, up in space. There's our space station. Technically, it says off planet. So hop into your spaceship and make your way for the space station. Space stations come in a different variety of looks and shapes. However, the inside of most all space stations is very, very similarly laid out. You may have a few obstacles inside that are slightly different, but for the most part, they're going to be the same. That little blue beam of light shooting out the front indicates that there's a tracking beam that will auto-navigate you into the space station when you get close enough. So there, it just picked me up, and we're flying in to do our landing into our very first space station. The space station has lots of vendors, lots of interactable NPCs, occasionally a few things left on tables that you can interact with and get navigation data or maybe some sort of nanite collection or something. So explore your space station, get to know it, get the familiar layout that you're going to experience throughout several other space stations in the game. The very first thing I do want to draw your attention to is this space station terminal. This terminal will allow you to warp directly to any other space station that you've interacted with, or right back to your main base. So you can hop back and forth between your base and this space station now using these teleporter paths. You can rename your base to anything you would like. I would highly recommend making it something that's familiar to you, easy to distinguish between the list of all the different sites that you may have in the future. So our mission here is to find life forms to ask about the signal. That 16, 16, 16 repeating signal that we keep seeing from our base computer and from our exosuit, as well as from our starship. So talk to a bunch of the NPCs there in the space station, and they're spread all over the place. Eventually you'll find one that can give you some clues as to what the game is trying to unlock for you. Some of the NPCs are not as friendly as others. That changes as your reputation with each one of the species gets higher and higher. You'll have more abilities to interact with them more, trade more with them, get rewards, give them rewards, etc. Both sides of the space station have vendors, have NPCs, have terminals that you can interact with, so be sure to explore and check both sides of the space station to try to get your storyline progressed. This side you can see some ship upgrades. This particular pad here is for modifying your character looks, so you can change how your appearance is. I would highly recommend every space station that you visit, you go over to this exosuit upgrade vendor and purchase exosuit upgrades. They start off relatively inexpensive with units. As you progress and unlock more and more, they do get much, much more expensive. So later there'll be another guide on how to earn money early in the game, so that's a little tip for what's coming. Make sure you explore the entire space station because there are other wings to the space station, not exactly hidden, but not in plain sight. So back here in the back side of the space station, there's another room with a terminal as well as a few other NPCs that I want to interact with to see if I can find the information on this signal. Here we go, I found the guy that's going to unlock the details of this 1616 signal. So this guy's going to give you some sort of encrypted message that you need to head back to your base computer to decrypt. Now it's time to make our way back to our home. We have a couple of options to get back to your home. You can either fly there, or you can use the space station warp terminal to choose your base and warp directly back to your house at zero cost to you. Now we've made it back, interact with our base computer, choose Begin Decryption on the code. Your base computer is going to tell you of a signal that it has acquired, life signs detected. So now you have another waypoint to head to inside your solar system. Most of these beginning quests will keep you inside your solar system. You don't have to jump to another system. So usually your destination locations will say off planet as opposed to out of the system. And there it is. There is our next location for our mission, so let's hop in our ship and head that direction. While this particular quest has us going to this freighter that's been crashed for a quest line progression, you can find crashed freighters pretty regularly. There are things that you can do at that location to uncover artifacts and different items in the game. But for now, we're just going to stay focused on the quest line. Make your way down and land next to the freighter. Head on over and interact with this device. Interact with the device, you're going to be given an option to take blueprints. This is your hyperdrive blueprint. Now, even though this is a freighter, it's not a hyperdrive for a freighter. It's a hyperdrive for a conventional spaceship. When you pick it up, you automatically learn the recipe, and it shows you the materials needed for crafting the warp drive. One of the ingredients inside this particular schematic, this blueprint, is something that you don't know how to make yet. That's that microprocessor. So your quest log is going to indicate to head over to the space station and interact with the Galactic Trade Terminal to see if there's any of them that are available for sale. And this first system is always going to have them, so you don't have to worry that they're not going to be in stock or that there's none that are going to be there. They will be there for you. So interact with the Galactic Trade Terminal, find the microprocessor, and buy the quantity that you need. There's 5 are needed for this particular build, however I already had 2, so I only needed to buy 3. Now the other part of the recipe is chromatic metal. You can refine copper into chromatic metal. Now in this case, I happen to find them right there in the Galactic Trade Terminal, so I just bought more than enough that I needed to be able to craft this warp drive in my spaceship. Navigate back close enough to your ship to where you can interact with it, install the warp drive, and then install the missing components. And congratulations, you have just installed a warp drive and can jump between systems. Now to fuel the hyperdrive or warp drive, you need a warp cell, and you need to be able to craft antimatter. Well, we don't actually have that recipe yet. The game does a really good job at picking up the quest line here and sending us to the location to be able to get the antimatter recipe, so we can craft antimatter to fuel our hyperdrive. Head on down to the coordinates identified by your quest log. Always take a look around inside these buildings. You could have creatures that you have to kill or items that you can interact with to get rewards. Once you've cleared the room, head on over to the corrupted terminal. You have to get rid of the residual goop that is on both of the terminal nodes. You can keep these if you would like to. You can craft stuff with them later. In my case, inventory space is at a minimum, so I just discard the goop. Interact with the terminal. You'll get some dialogue back and forth with the terminal. You'll be given the option to take blueprints and read the log. This is your antimatter blueprint. Congratulations. There's that weird 16, 16, 16 again. That's very strange. If you're into the lore of this game, then you can certainly follow the lore and pay attention to the game and the quest log. It is actually pretty entertaining. Now I happen to have the chromatic metal and the condensed carbon already ready, so I create my antimatter. To craft the warp cell, you need both an antimatter housing as well as that antimatter that you just unlocked. Antimatter housing is already available for you in your build menu. It simply takes 30 oxygen and 50 ferrite dust. I didn't have the ferrite dust, so I headed outside to get a little bit more. I should have said this earlier, but the rocket launcher that is built into your spaceship off the bat yields a pretty good amount of copper if you want to destroy it. It's a relatively weak weapon at the beginning of the game, so you don't really need it. Free up that inventory space, destroy the rocket launcher. You can always install it later, and for the time being, it just gives you that copper in that extra slot of inventory. Once you have farmed enough ferrite dust, head back into your inventory and craft that antimatter housing. Now you have both ingredients needed to make a warp cell. So craft yourself the warp cell, drag it into your hyperdrive, and now you have one jump. You have one ability to jump to another system. Repeat that process to fill your warp drive up. Head on back into space, choose your galaxy map, and find a system relatively close to you because your range is limited right now. And make your jump. Congratulations, you are now officially a multi-solar system traveler. There's a couple of different ways you can get back home. You can choose your galaxy map and warp back to your home if you would like to, or inside this new system that you just warped to, find the space station, interact with the warp terminal, and you can warp right back to your house, not costing you any warp cells as if you did it manually through your ship. So I'm choosing that route. I'm heading back to the space station terminal, warping back to my home base. Ah, home sweet home. Congratulations, you have successfully located and taken advantage of the space station inside your starter system, and you have upgraded your spaceship to include a hyperdrive or a warp drive to jump between solar systems. Again, I am Adam with the Outcasts. If you enjoyed this content, like, subscribe, or leave us a comment down below.